Welcome to our Marketing Your Rental in 2022 and Beyond webinar. My name is Krista Ruther. I am your Senior Content Marketing Specialist. Wait, that was a lie. Senior Content Marketing Writer here at TurboTenant. Thrilled to be here and talking to you about marketing. And I am joined by my illustrious boss, Jonathan Forche. Jonathan, would you like to introduce yourself to the people?
Sure thing. I am the Director of Education and Community here at TurboTenant. And we are very excited to be talking with you all about how to market your rental property. A few things about Zoom, if you're unfamiliar, or even if you are, a nice refresher. So we do have chat. It looks like a lot of you have discovered that, but we do have chat. You'll see at the bottom of the screen. You can click into it. By default, your messages might just go to hosts and panelists. So if you click that and hit everyone, then everyone can see your message. We do encourage you to chat. And then if you have any questions, you can either drop those in the chat, or there is a Q&A function as well that goes straight to us. And the note at the bottom of the slide that Krista is sharing right now, this is a very common question that we get. Yes, we are recording this. So we're recording this. We will send an email to all of you and anyone else who registered for this webinar tomorrow. And in that email, we will also include a link to these slides.
Yes, and you'll also have a chance to download a free tool guide that has some pricing so you can start sketching out your own marketing budget. Wonderful. All right, so very excited to have you here because by the end of today's session, you're going to understand your marketing spend. You'll be able to nail the basics of rental property marketing via the listing. We will help you identify some trending tools at various price points, and you'll engage in live feedback with yours truly, along with Jonathan. So to kick things off, we're going to start with a quick poll. Do you have a TurboTenant account?
We're starting easy.
Absolutely. I'd say there's no wrong answer, but I am wearing a TurboTenant shirt right now, so there's a right answer. Just kidding. Answer honestly. Let us know.
For those of you who are answering no right now, I would encourage you to open a TurboTenant account. That is where both of us work, and it is the easiest way to simplify your property management process. So you can do everything from screening tenants, marketing your rental property, which is why we're here today. You can also do rent payments through there, set up your lease agreements. We try to make it very easy to put everything in one place. And absolutely. Heidi, thank you. Thank you. In the chat, Heidi said, TurboTenant has brought me the most leads than any other site I am on. So that is very cool to hear.
Fantastic.
All right, I'm going to end that poll, share these results with you. So it looks like most of you, 75% of you, do already have TurboTenant accounts. Nice. And it is free to create one for that other quarter who do not yet have an account.
Absolutely. And just know that the things we'll be going over today are applicable to rental listings across the board. However, when you have a TurboTenant account, you'll notice we sprinkle in some specific tips for you to make the process easier and expand your reach.
Absolutely. Good marketing is good marketing.
That is true. But if you're new to it, it might feel intimidating to start throwing down dollars. So take a deep breath. Marketing is an investment in your business. Be willing to spend a little bit of money, but it's fine to start wherever you are. And in fact, you just have to be strategic about your spend and you can achieve great things. With that in mind, you might be asking yourself, well, how much should I be spending? The answer is going to vary. So if you're a landlord with only one unit in a hot market, you're probably going to be spending less than a landlord with 40 units in a slower market. So consider how many units you manage, the average length of tenancy and your vacancy cycle, and your overall business budget. You can also bear in mind that the U.S. Small Business Administration reported that B2C, or business to customer service companies, spent about 11.8% of their annual revenue on marketing in 2019. Typically, we see, well, the research indicates that the spend is between 10 and 12%, but once again, you might need to spend a little bit more upfront if you're a newer landlord investing in systems and tools. With that in mind, we have another poll for you. What is your annual marketing budget? And if you don't know, there's no shame in that either. That's why we're here.
That's right.
Okay. It's always fun to see the variety of responses. I'm a bit of a data nerd, and I like to see how these things shake out. So I appreciate you guys participating.
I'll let this run for just a few more seconds. Yeah, it looks like we had a question in the chat. How to measure ROI on marketing investment? Whew, that is a difficult question to answer succinctly. Some forms of marketing make it very easy. Actually, you can, yeah, if you're running Google ads, for instance, it's all calculated right there for you. Facebook ads, same thing. But the kind of marketing we're talking about is really just getting your rental listing in front of renters. So in our case, the ROI is really going to be based on, did you find a good renter? How long did they stay? Were they reliable? Because hopefully, if you're marketing your property correctly, you won't have to do it very often. You'll get a great tenant. They'll stay there a long time. Everyone will be happy.
That is always the goal. I'm also going to drop into the chat a quick link to take you to a rental property calculator to help you estimate or calculate ROI and other things, cap rate. Okay. Ooh. All right, so it looks like we're pretty evenly split between not knowing the budget, and then we have some folks at the 0 to 399 level. That's awesome. And a couple folks at the higher brackets as well. Again, no shame in your game. Start with where you are, and there are really great things that you can do with a lower budget. Like I said, we're going to go over tools at various price points, so we kept budget mindedness in mind. And as a final little tidbit, as I told you, I love data and stats. According to a poll from the Clutch and the Manifest, 37% of small US businesses spend less than $10,000 on advertising annually. So just think about that as you go through. No matter what your budget is, there are things that you can do to maximize your efforts. In order to do that, though, you're going to need to start with a plan. So what to do in order to create your plan? Well, first, you're going to want to look at your profits. If you're an experienced landlord, or even you've just had a year under your belt, look at your profits from last year. If you're just starting out, use your anticipated profits. That rental property calculator tool that I dropped in the chat can definitely help. Once you have an idea of how much you're expecting to see back, allocate a percentage of that to your marketing budget. Like I said, typically 10 to 12% is the average marketing spend, but you may find that you want to spend less, spend more. It will vary based on your market, your units, etc. But once you know about what you'd like to spend, outline how you'll use that budget and on which tools. Before buying anything, gather quotes for everything. So both online and off, to better understand where you want your money to go. If you're looking at me like, Krista, what is offline marketing nowadays? Well, happy to tell you. Think of things like for rent signs in front of your unit, printing flyers of your listing to hang around local businesses, distributing business cards, maybe sponsoring a little league game so that people know your name in the community and that you have rental properties available. There's a lot that you can do offline. However, if you are low on funds, I recommend prioritizing marketing methods that will bring in the most potential tenants, which is going to be online. That said, don't underestimate the value of word of mouth marketing. Once I learn how to speak, I'll have great word of mouth marketing myself. Just be sure to tell your sphere of influence, aka the people that you know and care about, that you're looking for great tenants. They may be able to point people your way, and that can help with the tenant screening process too, since they come kind of with a recommendation of sorts. Okay. So once you've evaluated your plan and you are executing, you've purchased some tools, make sure that you track what works and what doesn't. Track all of it. That way you can refine your strategy over time and really lean into the methods that work in your market versus those that just don't pay off. Lastly, be sure to save your receipts. Marketing expenses are tax deductible, so keep them in an organized spot. If you use TurboTenant, we do have a document manager. If you don't, it's very important to just keep everything together so it's accessible when you or your accountant need it.
Okay, now that you understand how to plan out your marketing budget, let's make sure you nail the fundamentals of your rental property marketing, which is, of course, your listing. All right, so a successful listing really consists of three things, right? We have the photos, and we put well shot photos here. We'll get to what exactly that means in a moment. And the goal with the photos is to accurately represent your unit. You don't want to put a photo in there that is confusing or a photo that doesn't seem to connect to any others. But you also want to give an honest representation. If you have a very dark unit and there just aren't any windows, don't Photoshop windows in. So that brings us to the second point, which is featuring an engaging and honest description of the space and its amenities. So often people just focus on the space and they don't focus on the amenities that might be available. You never know which of the amenities might be the real selling point to a really great tenant. And then our third and final element here is contact information or how to apply. If somebody is interested in your unit, you don't want them confused as to how do they take the next step. You want them to take that next step. You want to move forward as quickly as you can. And TurboTenant already makes it easy for prospective renters to apply directly through the listing. And we'll show later in this presentation what one of those listings looks like when you build it through us. So right now we'll focus on the rental photography and listing descriptions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so taking photos. Long before I came to this job, before I worked at TurboTenant, I was a real estate photographer. So I photographed houses, apartments, townhouses, condos in Nashville, as well as here in Denver, Colorado. I've photographed a lot of properties, some of them really bad, some of them beautiful, and I wish I could just hang out forever. So I have a lot of thoughts about photos, and I know that everyone thinks, hey, it's easy to take photos now. You've got a good camera on your phone, which you probably do. But that doesn't mean that everyone is skilled at taking photos. It just means they can technically take the photo. So good real estate photos, they all basically have these things in common. We've got some basics here. The first one, turn on all the lights. So this sounds super duper basic, but you need to turn on all of your lights. You want the place to look inviting. You want it to look open, airy, bright. Nobody wants to look at a dingy, scary dungeon of a rental unit. So turn on all the lights. That includes your overhead lights, any lamps, if there are floor lamps, open windows. I mean, the blinds, not the actual window. Aligning your vertical and horizontal lines. I'll say more about that in a minute when we show some photos, but that really helps to frame the photo, frame the space, and make it look like everything is spick and span, which is what you want to show. Turn off ceiling fans. This is a big one because the ceiling fans, when they're going on full blast and you take a photo, in the photo it always comes out as just this scary blur in the center of the room. People know what the fans look like. They understand it works, right? Hopefully it works. But you don't need that in your photo. You want to make sure that you're not introducing any kind of chaos into the photo. And one we didn't put in here, but is also important to include, when you're photographing bathrooms, put the toilet seat down.
Yes.
Avoid reflections. This one's big, and we'll show why in a minute. You want to show the unit as a great place for this person to live, and you do not come with the unit, so you don't need to be in the photo. Avoid mirrors, avoid reflective surfaces, appliances, those kinds of things. Go wide, but not fisheye. So for this, I would recommend using a wide angle lens. And if you're actually using a DSLR, a real big camera, I would recommend about a 15 millimeter lens. If that means nothing to you, don't worry. Most smartphones now have, multiple lenses like mine right here does. And one of these actually is a wide angle. So you go into your phone app and you can click around to find how to give you that wide field of view. And the reason you want to go wide is you can show off the whole space. You don't want to stand in the middle of the room and just shoot one corner, because that's not going to show off the representative, give a good representative feel of your space. And what I say when I say not fisheye there are lenses called fisheye lenses that are convex, and they actually distort the image a little bit. So you'll take a photo of your room and it will be wide, but then the walls also look like they curve, which is alarming.
Not ideal.
And then that last point, once again, show off your amenities. Absolutely. Okay, so now this part's always fun. What not to do. We've got a few examples of bad photography in here. So this one is very interesting to me because there's a few problems, right? And it's a shame because it looks like it could be a pleasant bathroom. I mean, it looks like it's a large bathroom. You've got a double vanity, you've got a lot of counter space, but you also have the owner, the real estate agent, who knows, somebody in there, not once, but twice. You also have a super cluttered vanity here and a TV in the middle also, which is just, all of this is blocking the interesting parts of this bathroom. There's definitely a way that, you know, you could get a better angle, maybe even show off what's going on to the right here.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a bathtub? Is it a shower? We'll never know.
Mystery abounds.
Okay, this one. You know, hopefully we don't need to go into specifics of why this is so horrible. And really, if they hadn't photoshopped all of this mismatched furniture in here, it would have been a decent photo, definitely dark, but they at least were showing off the space. They had a pretty wide angle, but then they, you know, mucked it up with all this crazy copying and pasting from, I guess, Google. So don't do that. If you have an empty space, that is totally fine. There are ways you could stage your space, much like a real estate agent would stage a house before they list it. But with a rental property, you don't always need to. If you're showing off a perfectly empty space, that is okay. The goal is to let the renter be able to imagine living in it. So empty is a lot better than whatever this is.
This mess. To that end, before we move on, I will say that if your space can't be empty, having your tenant tidy up, clean it up, maybe remove personal effects if they can, that is fantastic. You do not have to completely get your old tenant out and wait to start, you know, taking these pictures.
Yes, definitely good point. Okay, and then this is our last what not to do photo. So this one showing the exterior, that's good. You should show the exterior, especially, I'm guessing this is a single family home, hard to tell. But, you know, if your rental property is a single family home, by all means, show the front. What this person didn't do well, though, is they didn't show the whole front. We don't know how much farther this property goes to the right or the left. We also don't know, you know, we're standing too close. They also tried something here called twilight photography that I'll talk about a little bit later, which is basically trying to take a photo of the property at that golden hour, which is right at sunset when the light is beautiful, makes people look better, makes properties look better, makes everything look better. Yeah. But it's too dark. Once again, you know, taking exterior photos, especially if you're doing it at night, turn on all your lights. We can see a light right there in the middle that just was never turned on.
Lights are off and no one's home.
That's right. It's not inviting.
No.
Okay, so those were what not to do. And then looking back at some photos I took all the way back in 2015, this was kind of fun because I actually found this is an apartment that I photographed and in Nashville, Tennessee, and it has since been sold. So it had new photos taken, but they didn't repaint anything. So everything looks the same. So a fun comparison between my photo, which is on the left, and the newer photo, which is on the right. So just kind of want to go through a few of these and show why all these basics matter. So in my photo on the left, this is in the living room. We were looking at the kitchen on the right. And I went wide. I have my back to the corner of the room. And the reason that I'm doing that is to show as much of the room as possible. On the right, it looks like they didn't do that. It kind of looks like they're standing in the middle of the room, which is going to give the impression that the room is way smaller than it is. On the left, by going wider, you can also see there's all these plugs on the right on the wall. Somebody could imagine, cool, that's where I'm going to put the TV. I'll put the couch opposite that wall. And they can really start to imagine how they would arrange their own furniture in this space. Something else in my photo on the left, you see a ceiling fan. You also see a thermostat on the wall. These are a big deal because in Nashville, it gets hot. It's a big plus if you, as the renter, realize that you will have control of the thermostat. You will have control of a fan while you're there. On the right, you get neither of those. Something else on my photo on the left, whenever I was taking real estate photos, I would always try to get the third wall in the photo. So my back is in one of the corners. I've obviously got two walls in there. You can see the main walls right here. But then on the left, you get that little sliver of a third wall. And what that does is it really, like, your brain interprets it as, okay, that's the edge of the room. Now I can kind of put the pieces together. Obviously, I'd have another photo of the complete opposite corner of this room. And then when you put those two together, hey, now you understand the whole room.
Beautiful.
Okay, the next one. This is the kitchen. So this is us looking into the kitchen. And right off the bat, you can see I chose a different angle than the person on than the more recent photographer. So the reason I shot this on the left the way I did, it gives you more context. It shows you this is not a giant kitchen, but it gives you context as to what is opposite of the stove and oven. On the right, if that's the only photo you have of the kitchen, you have no idea how big that kitchen is. Also, I'm not sure what the focus is on the photo on the right. By not showing the whole door back there in the corner of the left side of this photo on the right, you don't even know how big that door is. Is it a double door? Is it a door out to a patio? I mean, we'll never know. The photo on the left, I tried to show, you've got outlets in here. You've got a sink. Yes, I didn't show the whole sink, but again, I would take another photo opposite, and I actually did, with my back to this door, to just show off the entire kitchen. So once again, really what we're trying to say here is show context in your photos. Not every space is going to be large, where you can show off, like that first photo that we just talked about. Not every one of them is going to be a big living room that you can stand back and really show it off. Sometimes it's going to be a smaller kitchen or a small bathroom. You just want to show off the key features. Okay, and this one, all right, so the photo on the right, they're too tight, right? They're not using a wide lens at all. Really what we're focusing on, I think, is an HVAC filter. So, okay, now you know where that is. But is that the important thing to show in this room? I don't think so. On the left, my back is to the corner. I showed that sliver of a third wall. And by doing that, we get to see the whole room. We get to see that there's a double door to, I believe that was a really big closet. So we see there's a big closet in there. But what we also see is that this room connects to the blue room next to it, which has a big window. It looks like it has its own closet. It has tile floor where this one has wood floor. You don't get any of that information in the photo on the right. So because they went portrait instead of landscape, they didn't go wide enough. They're really cutting off any context you could make from these photos. All right, and this is my last one. So this one, as we talked about before, show off your amenities. This was in a really nice apartment complex in Nashville. They had several amenities, but this was one of them, a big pool with a nice pool area. In Nashville, this is a big deal. You definitely want to be at an apartment with a pool. And so our photos are almost identical, except for one thing, which is the trash can.
Bum.
Front and center in their photo. What a buzzkill that is. You're wanting to imagine living at this apartment complex, hanging out on those chairs when it's nice and 100 degrees outside, jumping in the pool. You don't want to be thinking about the trash can or its role in your life, really. You're going to assume it's there, right? You don't need that in the photo. So when you're photographing things, just make sure you're realizing what else is in the frame.
Yeah.
Okay, and then two more things here that we just kind of want to touch on. Drone photography. So drones have gotten pretty inexpensive and fairly simple. for most people to operate. You can get a good one for about $1,000 now. And they're super fun. I have one. It's a lot of fun. But if you don't want to mess with it, I totally get it. A lot of people think drone photography is essential for showing off their property. And I would say it is not in most cases. So our designer, Frankie, did a great job pulling this photo on this slide right here. If you have a property like this, then yes, use drone photography, hire a drone photographer, show that off, because in this photo, we get a lot of details we wouldn't otherwise get. We get that there's a parking, it looks like a pretty good amount of parking here. There's a few different buildings. There's a tennis court. There's, expansive property, nice trees. That's awesome. And that's where drone photography can really be useful. If you have, a single family home that doesn't have a super impressive view, or if you're in an apartment or a condo or something, drone photography really doesn't make any sense. But hey, if you're in a rural area or you have a beautiful view or a ski slope nearby, then yeah, go for it. That could be the thing that really seals the deal. And then similarly with twilight photography, which again is when you try to photograph a property at that golden hour, right at sunset. This is really hard to do right because the sky is typically really bright. The house that you're photographing is typically really dark. So trying to get those to match up, it can be really tough. That being said, if you look up some luxury homes that do it right, it can be incredible. So all depends on your property.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much, Jonathan. So we've got your pictures hopefully looking perfect with all of those tips. Let's talk about writing. When you are writing a property description, what you need first and foremost is a compelling headline. What is going to make people click on your listing versus somebody else's? Well, capturing the essence of your property is a good answer. So, for example, you could say something like, check out this beautiful townhome in the heart of downtown available for rent. That gives your listing some personality, a little bit of context, some intrigue, and people will click in to learn more. Then you just have to make sure you deliver on that more. So include details like the rent and security deposit amount. You'll also want to include basic stuff like the bed bath count, important amenities, although we'll touch on that on the next slide, kitchen appliances, etc. Just be sure you provide enough context for your rental that people are intrigued and want to apply. Do not weigh it down by being too wordy. So keep it succinct. I would say try to just include what we have on this slide and, of course, this one. Bullet points are going to be your friend. Don't be afraid to just list things out, especially if you're not super comfortable writing up copy. But additional things you'll want to include if you have any recent renovations that you want to brag about. Parking accommodations, that's particularly crucial when you have units in urban areas where it might be permit parking that they have to pay for, or a special parking garage, etc. You should also include any property requirements. So specifically, if you do not want any smokers, list that in your description. That way you get fewer applicants who wouldn't align with your criteria. You can include utility information, such as what you might cover versus what would be their responsibility, neighborhood facts. Let's say there's a really cool landmark nearby. Tell them about that. Maybe it's close to shops. Let them know. You don't have to get hyper specific and say, we're next to the Claire's on Broadway and 12th. But you could say, located within walking distance of a nearby pavilion. That's nice information, and it starts to paint a picture of what it might be like to live in this property, which is what you want. Lastly, and most importantly, you need your contact info in there. So if you list with TurboTenant, we make that very simple. It will be front and center so people know what next steps to take. If you're writing up your own description, let's say maybe on Zillow, and you're not copying your TurboTenant listing, be sure that you have a very clean way to reach or have these folks reach you so you don't miss them in the spam folder. Lastly, you do want to start with the highlight reel and make your property sound as amazing as it is, but don't go overboard with hyperbole or exclamation points. Like Jonathan said, you want to paint an accurate representation of the unit. Otherwise, you risk wasting people's time or, building a tenant landlord relationship that doesn't start off on a great foot. So keep that in mind. There are also several things that you should not include in your listing, specifically things that relate to fair housing laws. So do not reference family or marital status. So in this case, that means not calling your property family friendly. I know, it's a very popular phrase, but it's going to turn off single people, and also you just shouldn't do it. It goes against fair housing. Instead, Inman recommends focusing on the property's physical description, like the number of bedrooms, does it have a spacious backyard, is there a sunroom, things like that. Next, do not include sex and gender preferences. Saying that your property has a gender preference is a no-go. However, you can use commonly known terms like bachelor apartment or mother-in-law suite. Next, disability. This might feel a little counterintuitive, but you are not allowed to explicitly state in your listings if your property provides accessibility for people with disabilities. Instead, what you're going to want to do is highlight key features. Once again, so let's say that you have a wheelchair ramp. Let people know. And equally, if your rental is a third-story walk-up with no elevator, that is crucial information to include. Next up, religion. Any religious wording or affiliation should not be included in your listing. However, the Department of Housing and Urban Development says that you can mention that the neighborhood has a chapel or available services affiliated with religion. Just don't write something like Catholics only. That will be bad. And lastly, of course, you cannot mention color, race, or national origin. So if you want to check, let's say, people's citizenship as part of your screening process, you can. You have to do that for everybody. You cannot single out an applicant and only ask them. That must become a part of your screening process across the board. And you cannot ask them about their immigration status. So keep that in mind. Ooh, my goodness. There you go. Okay. So we've talked to you about what great listings include. That's going to be the strongest marketing technique or tactic that you have online, is putting out a good listing. Let's now talk about some tools that you can use to push your efforts even further. So this one is one of my personal favorite tools of all time. Grammarly is a spell check on 10th level. It is so great. It basically, it does not write for you. Let's get that out of the way. It does not do that, but it will check your grammar, your punctuation, spelling, tone, word usage, etc. And it polishes up your writing for the low cost of $0. You can download it as a program to run directly from your desktop, or I use it as a browser extension. If these words are confusing, don't worry. Just download it to your desktop. You can write directly into the software. It will give you suggestions, and then you can copy and paste that into whatever you're doing, like your listing description. If you want to spend a little bit of money, why not try some AI? So listing.ai, that's the name. If you want to check out the product, it's listingai.co. So that came up last time. Basically, what you do, you pay $12 per session, and then you input information about your listing, and AI uses that to generate a listing description. So it's pretty nice because for that price, you can revise it up to 6 times without any additional fees. And it's always fun to dabble in new tech. However, the creators want you to know that their tech can write about 80% of the listing, but you'll still want to make sure you get eyes on it before you post, because robots have not yet figured out how to write English in the way that we do. And so my job is safe. I know you were all concerned, but really that just means when you're using a tool like this, give it a final read, make sure it doesn't sound like a robot wrote it, and then you can apply it to your listing.
Yes, yeah, definitely don't blindly accept whatever the AI spits out. As two people with maybe unusual names, the AI always messes up our names. So
every single time, every single time. Next up, our highest spend for this category is going to be Box Brownie. They offer quite a few tools for real estate professionals, including professional copywriting services. If you go to the site, you'll see that it's largely geared toward real estate agents, but I reached out to their customer service team, a lot of landlords use this service to get their listings written for them. So inherently you submit some photos and then they write up unique copy for you based on your pictures. And then you could just, boom, post it online, you're good to go. All right. Another tool that you need in your arsenal is going to be a rental property website. So think of this as like a supplementary step to your online marketing with TurboTenant. We handle posting your listing to apartments.com, Apartment List, Redfin, Zumper, PadMapper, and a bunch of other ones. But by building your own website, you amplify your efforts and can create a lasting professional impression. It starts to build your brand, in other words. When you have a rental property website, you will want to include any available units along with your contact information at a minimum. But you could also leverage that website to share resources with your tenants, such as move-in, move-out checklists, any kind of resources about the local area, things of that nature. So if you are ready to build a website, Wix is a great place to start. It's super user-friendly, and they have customizable templates that you can leverage to create a beautiful site in no time. Also, I should say this, none of these tools are sponsored. These are just tools that we researched and thought would be a good fit. So look at them yourself, but these are pretty reliable. The other benefit with Wix specifically is just that it integrates easily with our listing embed, which means if you post your listing with TurboTenant, we have instructions in our help center to help you take that listing and plug it into your website. When you do that, if you make any changes to your listing through TurboTenant, it automatically updates it, so you don't have to update it in both spots. If you have a little money to spend, then GoDaddy could be a great service for you. I know they had questionable commercials in the early 2010s, but they really do have a reputable service in terms of building websites. Their paid plan offers a variety of features that could help you expand your presence and your sphere of influence. Specifically, I like that they allow you to do appointment booking. I could see that being really useful for people who are trying to set up listing viewings, who are trying to set up viewings or having one-on-one conversations with potential tenants. They also allow you to take whatever you post on the website and send it directly over to your social media. So that could be another great tactic if you're looking to really build up your brand. Do that. Posting on your social is going to connect everything together and amplify your reach. And also with GoDaddy, you get your own business phone number. So that is a really nice perk.
Yeah, that's really nice. That way you don't have to give out your personal number when you give that contact information.
Absolutely. And lastly, a little bit pricier is going to be Squarespace. So Squarespace also offers customizable templates, and they are gorgeous. I've used Squarespace in the past personally to make a portfolio. It is fantastic. It also optimizes your site for mobile visitors, which is crucial given how many people look for anything on their phone first, rather than sitting down at a desktop. Lastly, they give you a custom domain name and an email address to connect everything together. So if you're unfamiliar with the domain name, that is what you put in the address bar in your browser window. So for example, turbotenant.com is our domain name. It's great to have your own, especially if you're trying to brand yourself and create a lasting business in this ever increasingly digital world that we live in. That could be a really great move. So keep that in mind. All right.
Okay, virtual tours. All right, so virtual tours became very popular in 2020. Can't think of why, but hey, here we are. Zoom now runs our lives. We're all on Zoom right now. And bringing virtual tours to your property is an awesome way to let way more people see it. You don't want to have to physically show the property to every person who's interested. A lot of people, they can look at the virtual tour that you create, and only when they're really serious can they actually, bug you to go look at the property. It's an awesome way to build confidence in your listing, get people to familiarize themselves with it, and also just shorten your vacancy cycle. So if you're not using virtual tours, we definitely recommend it.
Absolutely.
That being said, there are different ways to do it. So According to Homey, including footage of communal and outdoor areas is essential, and adding general virtual tours to your website, like all those options that Krista just went through, can really help boost engagement. And we also, I know we had a question about TikTok
Yes.
in the chat, and we can talk a little bit more about social media in a bit, but virtual tours obviously lend themselves very well to TikTok, Instagram, even Facebook. I mean, wherever you wanted to put it on social. Photos are great, but if you haven't noticed, every social media platform is really pushing video now. So get a really, really nice, smooth video out there, and you're definitely going to see more interest. Okay, so how do you do it? Well, the DIY route is, unsurprisingly, use your smartphone. In addition to being able to take pretty good photos, most smartphones can also shoot really awesome video. In fact, most of them now shoot 4K video, which is just super, super high quality. More than you need, to be honest. You'd be fine with 1080p, which is, HD video. But if you already have a phone, this is a great way to get started with it. There are some kind of basics that I'd recommend. In addition to shooting real estate photos, I also used to do walkthrough tours. So I would use a DSLR camera back in the day, but you can definitely get a similar result using just your phone. This pro tip we have up here, you can up the quality by using a gimbal, which, if you don't know what a gimbal is, it's basically a little motorized holder for your phone. So you just clip your phone into it, you turn the gimbal on, and you start walking, and it's going to keep your phone totally steady, which is really awesome. You definitely want a steady video if you're doing a walkthrough, because you want to give the impression that somebody's just floating through your property. That way they can imagine themselves there. If instead they've got big footsteps distorting the video, it's going to be distracting.
Yeah.
So if you were to hire a professional videographer, they would shoot it a few second clips, a lot of short clips of front door into one room, turn around, go from that room to another room, and then they stitch it all together where it's a completely seamless kind of transition throughout the property. And just like with taking your photos, I'd recommend, if you are shooting your own walkthrough video, focus on the highest impact areas first. So in almost every property, I would say that the highest impact places are the master bedroom, the master bathroom, and the kitchen. Now, you might have an unusual property where you have an incredible living room, or maybe the outside areas are really, really nice. Show those off early on in the video. You can't assume everyone's going to watch the entire video. Hopefully yours doesn't end up being too long. We're talking like the 3-minute video. But still, most people are going to watch about 30 seconds and then say, yeah, okay, I could go see that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Get them hooked early.
That's right. Okay, so say you want to spend a little bit more money. Well, still using your smartphone, you could use this service, Astaroom, and you can look them up. I think it's just astaroom.com, right?
I believe so.
Yes, it is. Okay. Astaroom.com. So they have for $110, you can get this kit that is a special lens, a rotator, and a tripod. So just like I talked earlier on in this presentation about how the lens can make all the difference, you want to go wide. Well, they make it easy for you. They've got a little clip on that'll just go right on your smartphone. So this is a cool way to do it. Doesn't cost a ton of money, and you also can reuse the kit.
Fantastic.
All right, and say you wanted to spend a lot of money. Matterport. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Matterport. They have created this proprietary camera that is just massive, very big camera, and it's not cheap either. We've got the cost right here, about $3,400 for this camera. And then on top of that, you have a monthly fee that you need to pay to be able to use their software that goes with the camera. But the end result of a Matterport tour is very, very cool. Basically, you set up the camera, it does a full scan of the area, and then you move it forward a few feet, it does another scan, and it uploads all those scans into the app. And what you're left with is basically a complete 3D model of your digital 3D model of your rental property, which is really cool. It definitely gives you the feeling of like Google Street View, but a prospective renter could be able to just sort of tab through the space and see it for themselves. Um, Now, sort of like we were talking about those luxury options earlier with the drone photography and the twilight photography, not making sense for every property. Same thing here. This is obviously expensive. Keep in mind your marketing expenses can be written off as business expenses when you do your taxes. So this would go in there. But if you have a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom rental property, this Matterport is going to be definitely overkill. Say you're in the Bay Area and you have a 500 square foot unit. Well, Matterport's going to be a little lackluster because it'll just be, move forward, see that, move forward. But on the other hand, if you have a really expansive property, if you have a 4 bedroom single family home with multiple floors, this could be a really, really cool way to show it off.
Absolutely. All right. So we've talked about a bevy of tools today, but we couldn't resist throwing in some of our personal favorites, starting with Zoom. As Jonathan mentioned, it has taken over our lives. We are on it right now. I hope that doesn't come as a shock to you. We've been together for a little bit, but it is so useful when you are a landlord because it allows you to have one-on-one video tours in which you could take a prospective tenant around without having them physically be there. Well, why do you care, you might ask? Because that opens up your tenant pool to people who are out of state or otherwise cannot make it down to view it in person. And it allows them to ask you questions one-on-one in real time. Another crucial tool is something to keep you organized, in which case I would suggest Google Calendar, of course. I like it because it gives me appointment reminders. It lets you color code, which is just so fantastic for me as a type A person, and it's really easy to use. Next up, if you're looking to create your own floor plan or otherwise show off the layout of your rental, floorplanner.com has a free tier in which you can create your own floor plan. That's always fun to include, especially if you have compelling pictures. So ideally, you put all of your actual pictures first, and then you have the floor plan that kind of gives the greater context and has the person really understand the build without having to be there. And lastly, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention TurboTenant at least one more time. You can leverage our industry-leading syndication network, which means you post your listing with us, we push it out to all of those sites I mentioned and more, and we do that for you for free. That's not the only thing we do, of course. We can help with every single phase of the move-in, move-out life cycle. But if you are here, you're interested in marketing, so I wanted to make sure we call that out for you.
Absolutely.
And now on to what I'm very excited about, our live feedback. So let's start with Cottage She Wrote.
And these, by the way, are one of our emails we sent to invite people to this very webinar. We asked if you'd be interested in having us give feedback on your rental listing. So all of these came from that email.
Yes, and thank you so much for sending them in. We had so many to choose from. So let's start with these pictures. I love that they chose this one as the first picture you see. I think that beautiful bush in the beginning or in the forefront of the picture is really inviting. You get a great sense of the space. And I'll flick through here so we can see what they're showing. Okay. So small note, I might take this part off, the little, I think it's plastic wrap. And we also don't get a great sense of the size here. It's okay. It's not bad by any means, but I think if you take a step back, you would be able to, I would be able to better understand what we're looking at.
Yeah, definitely too close to a lot of this stuff. And if in that previous photo, you can't help but look at the, what is that, a mop or a vacuum? You can't help but look at the vacuum. It's just front and center, once again, declutter the space, but also stuff like that. I mean, if they didn't have anywhere else to put that, just put it behind you while you take the photo, and then you can put it back. That's the beauty of photos, is we're only going to see what's in front of you. Now, doing a walkthrough video is a little more challenging, but still try to get stuff like that out of there. You really want to just show the space.
Absolutely. All right. This is another one where I'm not quite sure what, I know it's an entryway, but I don't really know the space or quite where I am in the property. So that's something to look out for. Nice that you have your light on and it's not the fan portion.
Yeah, and the windows are open. I mean, they did a good job keeping this inviting, really showing you also these beautiful wood floors. Like
Yeah,
it does a good job showing you that for sure.
absolutely. Little thing there. Okay. So all in all, I think with a couple slight revisions to the pictures, you're going to be in a really good spot. In terms of your listing itself, I love that you have this in bullet points. Like I said, the formatting is going to make it so important when you're trying to communicate a lot of information. Having it like this means it makes it super readable and I can just go through, I understand what this would entail, and I can make a decision of whether or not to apply. And as Jonathan mentioned, this is one of our TurboTenant listings. So you are easily contacted right through the listing itself, which is fantastic. Last thing that I want to point out here is just that they make mention of the non-refundable pet fee and have their features down here to allude to those property requirements we talked about earlier. Okay. Next up, let's go to 4-leaf Cloverdale. All right, starting with the imagery here. Look at that beautiful house.
So off the bat, I like the exterior. However, the angle is strange, right? And also we get the shadow of a car right here. But we don't know how much farther this house goes. And are we standing in the house's driveway or is this the neighbor's driveway? Is this thing cut off on the left? Is this a garage? Is it, I don't know. I don't know how much farther it goes. And so once again, you really want to show, you know, the full context. We get most of it here. We just don't get all of it.
Well said. Like the lighting is good, but if the angle was a bit different, we would get the greater view of the house. Nice. This is another angle. I like that you have both because again, that gives a greater sense of the space. If you just had one or the other, it wouldn't be the complete picture. Pun fully intended. There we go. Okay, nice and open. You can see how inviting this is. I love the orange back there. But we do get this portion cut off. It's kind of a strange angle. What do you think, Jonathan?
Yeah, they did a great job with the lining up of the photo. Everything is very straight, you know, it gives the feeling that everything is in its right place. But we are a little close. We're a little close to things. And especially if you click through a few to the 7th photo here.
Yeah.
So this one's interesting, right? It doesn't give you much context. It does show you, it looks like there's a ton of storage in this kitchen, and that's great. That could be a selling point for someone. But had they taken a step back, they still could have showed all of that storage as well as how it connects to everything else. Just given this photo, yeah, I'm not sure how it all comes together. So you really want your photos to stand on their own, any of them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I am no photography professional, but I would say, just as Jonathan did, maybe just taking a step back with most of these pictures would give you a greater sense of the space, which is crucial for people interested in your properties. Then, of course, we have this beautifully formatted listing description. It clearly lays out the need to discuss pets, which I think is fantastic, and it lists what they would need to do. It's always good to have at least a little information, so just having pets are negotiable is okay, but taking it to that next level and explain, like having a blurb about what that would entail, awesome. Okay. Then, of course, they have some more information. Here's some location information, which is great, along with some outdoor information. We love this. Again, it gives people a good sense of what they're getting for the price of this unit. And last up, let's go to the pharmacy. I'm very funny, guys. I'm just assuming you're laughing with me as we go through these. But this is a very interesting space.
Yeah, so this one, you notice all of the photos are pitched down a little bit. I don't know, maybe this person was very tall. but you want to try to, once again, like get everything, even. You want to get all of your vertical and horizontal lines even. What I will say though, this does a great job of showing you the space. And something I really like about it, this is in Kansas. Yeah, this is in Kansas. They do show you, it's obviously an older unit, and they say that in the description, but we have fans everywhere. So if anyone was worried about being hot in this unit, I don't think that's going to be an issue. These look like some serious fans.
Mm-hmm. Look at that. Great sense of just this long hallway. I like it. Mysterious steps.
Yeah, so this one, I think this is an example of something you probably don't need to include, right? The stairs are never going to be a reason that a renter chooses your property. In fact, most people probably don't like the stairs, right? And so in this case, like this is a nice historic building. Those are some, yeah, you just don't need to include a photo of the stairs. We only have 12 pictures of this unit, and one of them is just the staircase. So I would say cut that one out, spend some more time maybe showing off the bathroom or the front or maybe the neighborhood.
Yeah. And you can still include the information about the stairs in the description. In fact, that'd be the best place for it. That way you don't have to include the picture, but people still know in case they have any questions about that. I really like that they highlighted that there are no neighbors. That's going to be a selling point for people. And of course, calling out the hardwood floors, the abundance of natural light. They really highlighted what was key and special about their unit, which I think is great.
Yeah, I think they did a great job here with, it says built in 1900, and you get that feeling from looking at the photos. And they put in the description, freestanding historic building, but then they also focus a lot on it's been renovated. Right? If there's any question, it's not as if it's just been sitting there since 1900. So definitely have given a lot of care to that description.
Absolutely. All right. So here are our sources. Like we said, we will go ahead and send this to you afterward. I know we're quick on time, but let's take a look and see if there's anything we can answer in our last few minutes together.
Yeah, we do have a few questions here. So let's see. I want to address the one about TikTok that came up a few times. So yes, posting on social is awesome. And yes, TikTok is a big deal. It's if you talk to anyone under probably 20, they will tell you, yeah, it's where they spend a lot of time now. So yes, being on TikTok is fantastic. I would say any social platform. If you do use it, then the hashtags are your friend, because that's how you're going to get people to actually see these kinds of posts. Use a hashtag of your city, of your neighborhood, whatever. And again, just make sure it's representative video or photos that you're sharing. And then we had a question about, yeah, it looks like somebody dropped in the chat about TurboTenant's income insights tool. It looked like there was quite a bit of chatter about our applications and our screening. And we do now have income insights for premium subscribers, which basically means it is a verification of the income that your renter tells you they have. So just another way for you to be even more sure about their ability to pay that rent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a few more questions that we had in here.
Yeah.
When you edit the TurboTenant listing, does it update the other websites also? Yes, it does. Yes, it does do that. We say it could take 24 to 48 hours, depending on the listing site that you're syndicating to. But yes, we do automatically update that. And I know this came up in our other session of this same topic, that that if you are updating your photos, you do not have to delete your listing in TurboTenant and make a new one. You can just update those photos. And as a matter of fact, Samantha on our team just posted how to do that on TikTok the other day. So you can look us up on TikTok. We are just at TurboTenant.
Fantastic. One question for you specifically, Jonathan. How do you take wide angle pictures in a small space?
Yeah, the small space, that's where the wide angle really comes in, because you are able to show more of it. So that's why you definitely want to go wide. If you're using a normal lens, then you're only going to be able to show, a wall or a corner, which is not going to do anything for anyone. Obviously, it is a little more challenging because you don't have those big, beautiful open rooms to show off. But again, put your back in the corner, try to make yourself at one with the wall and just take the most representative photo that you can, showing a little bit of the floor, a little bit of the ceiling, and trying to get as much of the wall space as you can.
Absolutely. Okay. Someone asked us to say that thing again about verifying rental income.
Yeah. Income Insights is what we just released recently in product. So it is for our premium subscribers. And when you run a screening report, you can also you can get income insights on that prospective renter as well. So it uses a third-party service to just verify that they have the income they say they have. Nothing worse than obviously being lied to and finding out months later that your renter cannot pay what they said they could.
Absolutely.
Looks like we also have a question about the premium plan. What is the difference versus no premium? So yes, we do have a premium plan. It is an annual subscription that we have, and you get a lot of, hang on, let me grab the link real quick.
Oh, I was beating you to the punch.
You already have it? Okay.
If I can find my chat. Oh no, I don't want to let you down. Here we go. Oh, that's it. Okay, hold on. That only sent to one person. Sorry, Anna, if you're not interested in that information. Here we go, everybody.
There we go. Okay. Yes, this is our premium plan. So on our pricing page, you can also see the differences. So a lot of things are already for free for landlords on TurboTenant, including marketing, which we've been talking about this whole time. But with premium, you can also connect unlimited bank accounts. You get income insights that we just spoke about. You get faster response times, phone support from us, from our Colorado-based support team, as well as faster rent payments. So the rent will go, I believe we say 2 to 3 days into your bank account when you are a premium subscriber. And then also included are state-specific lease agreements and addendums and e-signatures.
Forms, yeah.
A lot of stuff. So absolutely, we recommend it.
But if it's outside of your budget, feel free to come and make a free account with us. You still unlock so many of the great features without, breaking the bank if it's just not in the cards for you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, yes. And premium helps you to boost your marketing as well. So bear that in mind. What is REI Hub? REI Hub is an integration with an accounting software specifically built for property management. So it has a lot of key features that you wouldn't find in something like QuickBooks, which is more of a generalized accounting software. And you can access that through TurboTenant. REI Hub, not QuickBooks, just to be clear.
Looks like we got a question. How much of those searching are looking for furnished rentals? They have used TurboTenant when listing unfurnished rentals, but recently changed model to furnished rentals. Yeah, so furnished rentals, I think it's going to depend on your area. If you are, it seems to be a growing trend of traveling nurses or executives, or if you have that kind of housing, if you're in that kind of area, then a furnished rental, absolutely. You also want to have the price point to match that. Because you're taking on potentially more risk for your personal property by having it be furnished. But I think there's definitely a need for it. I think it just depends on your area and kind of your the kinds of renters that you're likely to get in that area.
Absolutely. Aaliyah, unfortunately, it is too late to submit your listing for feedback. However, we love to hear from you guys. We love chatting with you. So we will always invite opportunities for you to reach out and for us to engage in some kind of conversation, build up our community. I think we can do this last question. Do you allow video of a listed rental? Yes. So you could either list the URL in the actual description of the listing itself, or I believe you can attach it and have it be clickable in the profile, on the listing. But at least put it in the listing description and tell people, hey, video tour here, and they will go and watch it. All right.
Okay, looks like a few people asking about scammers. So do we mean scammers from the rental side? Renters trying to scam the landlord? Because that's really where okay, yes, cool, thank you. All right, so yes, the background check could will absolutely help with that. That's the whole point, right? You run the background check, you you get all the information that comes with that, which is eviction history, criminal history, income insights if you're a premium subscriber. That can be super beneficial with that. I would also say just, trust your gut with a lot of this. We do have a page on our site about avoiding scams, which Krista just dropped in. Perfect. Thank you. On our side, our support team, we do have a few security experts who really dig into this stuff and find scammers, both landlord scammers as well as renter scammers. Just kind of an unfortunate truth about the rental industry that there are always going to be scammers. We would say just be smart about it. Make sure you're talking with somebody. You make sure you don't just rent to somebody without first speaking to them. It doesn't have to be in person necessarily. I mean, some people just can't do that. But on the phone, video call, that's where all these, virtual tours, that's where all this stuff comes in handy. There are some definite red flags. If somebody says, yes, I'll move into your unit, and they haven't even seen it in person and they haven't even talked to you, hey, that's probably not a legit person. But yes, definitely follow that link that Krista dropped in the chat, because we do have a lot more tips in there.
Absolutely. And one more that I really want to call out, ask for landlord references. Yeah. Ask them for people who they've rented from before, and then actually reach out to them. It's not good enough to just ask. You need to actually follow up and contact those other landlords, because that can help you understand who the renter is. So bear that in mind. And do I know of any websites for free that will help with the comprehension and descriptions? Great question. Before I move on to that, I just want to say the TurboTenant application automates asking for landlord references. So if you use us for your application process, another little bonus for you. I don't know of any websites that will help with the listing description for free, because it's usually something that you end up having to pay for. But you could always see if there's somebody local to you who'd be willing to do a trade. Like, let's say that you're really great at taking pictures. You could take pictures for them, maybe for their small business, and you could ask them to write something for you. That would be my first thought, is leaning on your community and the people around you.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm not seeing many other questions we haven't addressed, and we are over time. So thank you all so much for joining us. We hope this was helpful. We hope that this makes you create an even better rental listing and get even better tenants. That is the whole point. That makes it a lot more fun to be a landlord when you have good tenants. So that's the goal. That's our goal. And again, if you haven't tried TurboTenant, please sign up. You can make a free account and use most of our features for free.
All righty, and I'm very excited for this. So thank you to everyone who provided their listings, asking for feedback. We have picked 3, and I will go ahead and click in so that we can go over them together. Can everyone still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. All right. So here it is. Welcome to the jungle. So this particular unit, listing, I should say, it stands out for me because of its humor. I love this line that pets are okay, but no elephants or hippos. It gave me a giggle. However, you can see that we only have 2 pictures, and it doesn't give me a great understanding of the space. Also, it doesn't list much about any kind of requirements regarding the security deposit or pet fees or rent. Jonathan, what do you think?
Yeah, this one really doesn't give you the full breadth of the space. So there were a few questions that we got that were about, what to do if a tenant is still in the space or if the space has not been cleaned yet. Maybe that's what happened here. Maybe that's why we don't have any interior photos. But I would say in that case, put some of that in here.
Yeah.
Put some of that information in here. A floor plan is a great thing to include. But some photos are better than no photos. And with these two photos, it's difficult to get an understanding of the space. I mean, first of all, there are cars in the driveway. I would have moved those cars and make sure you get the full breadth of it. And then the second photo, are we looking down the street? It's kind of hard to tell, right? We're just looking at a jungle, which they do call out here, large rear yard, jungle. So with this one, you definitely want some more photos to show this space off. And frankly, I know this is the Bay Area, but that's a pretty high rent for most of the US. So to really get people interested in the space, you want to try to give as much detail as possible.
Absolutely. Next up, let's catch the whitefish. Okay. So love that we have 16 images, and I'll flick through them while providing some more feedback. They also have a video tour, which is such a smart move. And these pictures are just fine. They're a little dark, and I think Jonathan can speak to the resolution here.
Yeah, they look a little low res, and you can tell that because of the weird stitching on the lines. Like, look at the door frames. You definitely want a higher resolution, just to basically a bigger file for these photos. And something else I'll say, I don't know if this person photographing was super tall, but it seems like all of them are kind of leaning down. Again, it really helps to get your vertical and horizontal lines lined up. It can give a better idea of the space. That being said, I love that they show the yard. They show the exterior very well. They give you a good idea of the space. So certainly accomplishes that.
Absolutely. And I particularly like how their description highlights some of the key features. It also notes that you could have a dog, but it's negotiable. I would love to have a little bit more information on that. Maybe like one small dog negotiable with a pet deposit. But otherwise, I like that they have a link to their video tour again here, and they have clear instructions on what they'd like people to do next if they're interested in the property.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this also we should point out, this is what it looks like when you advertise using TurboTenant. So this is a listing put on TurboTenant. This has syndicated out to all of our syndication partners.
All righty. Houston, we have no problems with this lovely listing here. So the pictures are really well shot. As a bonus, we love that they included a map and a floor plan. So now you can really understand the images that you're seeing and, the space that you would get if you were a renter interested in this property.
Yeah, this one's really, really impressive. And obviously a very large unit. I think it's 2,700 square feet. So, a suburb of Houston like this one is, the houses, the rentals are going to be bigger than in a lot of urban areas. But still, these are super well shot photos. They give you a great idea of the space. They're very well lit. You can see every light is turned on. The windows are all open. They definitely give a great idea of how inviting this is, and also how you could move in and customize it to your own liking.
Absolutely. And their description is nice too. It's well written, it flows well, and it's not an overwhelming amount of text. I like that they highlight things to do, and this is a really good way of noting the school district without violating fair housing. Just making a quick note of it, saying what people could benefit by living here. It's a pretty fantastic listing. So no notes. I think it's a great one.
Yeah, and that note about the school district is also just, giving some idea of the area. Like, this is a pretty large house. It's 2,700 square feet. Probably people moving in are going to have kids. It's probably going to be a family. So just giving that extra detail can be really helpful.
Well, fantastic. That concludes our presentation for today. So like we've said, we will go ahead and send out the recording, this deck, and a free downloadable for you tomorrow that shows the different tools at various price points, what you might expect to spend. If there are any questions that we have not had the chance to get to, please reach out to us on social media. You can find us at TurboTenant, whether that's on Facebook or Instagram. Reach out and our wonderful expert, Samantha, will be addressing your questions sooner rather than later.
I just dropped our Facebook page into the chat. So if you do have any questions, if we weren't able to get to it, we do want to be cognizant of time and not keep everyone here super, super long, but please do reach out to us on social. We're going to keep this conversation going. I know there's a lot of stuff we can cover as far as good marketing. So thank you everyone for joining. And when we end this webinar, then there will be a quick survey. Please do fill that out. Please, give us some feedback. It's super, super helpful for us.
We crave it. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.